You did not get here by coincidence. There is something within you, deeply rooted, persistent, and calmly luminous, that has drawn you to this very moment. Not the outer part of you that scrolls or searches, but your inner self, the one that senses the stirrings of transformation before they are evident. And as you walk through these words, you may start to remember what that person has always known. Maybe recently you have felt as though life is unraveling. The familiar has become strange. The ground beneath you is uncertain. Old structures fade away, and nothing seems to follow the logic you once trusted. But consider this, in the symbolic language of the mind, such a condition is rarely meaningless. What if the confusion you feel is not an ending but the tremor before a new chapter begins? What if the chaos is sacred, a necessary dismantling before anything greater can emerge? Carl Jung frequently reminded us that the unconscious talks in symbols and signals, not in simple explanations. Before a significant transformation, it does not usually announce itself with clarity. Rather, it whispers. It sends dreams that persist, routines that recur, and emotions that surge without reason. And if you are not listening, these signs get louder until life begins to fall apart from what is no longer designed to hold you. The actual tragedy is not the collapse itself, but how many individuals misunderstand it. They call it failure, unfortunate circumstances, or bad timing. They dull the pain or abandon the route right before the realization. But you, if you are here, it means something in you is listening. It means that your soul is paying attention, even when your conscious mind has not yet made meaning of the signs, and that is the turning point of transformation. In the pages that follow, I will walk with you through 6 unmistakable signs that your life is not falling apart but breaking open, that what appears like confusion is, in fact, the starting point of a deeper order. And if even 3 of these signs echo within you, then your soul has already begun the journey. A new stage of your life is not coming, it is already unfolding silently, deeply from inside. Now let us get started. The first sign that your soul is prepared to enter its most shining season is this: you start questioning what you once called reality. Not because of a rebellion, but from something far more precious, a quiet inner whisper that no longer allows you to accept what once felt certain. If you have found yourself evaluating your beliefs, your relationships, your ambitions, or even your very sense of yourself, you are not confused. You are being called. Something within has already begun its descent, like a seed splitting open underground before it ever reaches the light. Jung knew that this kind of inner disassembling is not a crisis but a starting point. The old structures of the mind start dissolving because they can no longer hold the person you are becoming. And although the surface may still look unchanged, within, the tectonic plates are changing. The beliefs you once lived by, the routines you once repeated, and the ambitions you once pursued, all start to feel strangely hollow. This discomfort is not an issue to be resolved. It is the divine labor of rebirth. The cosmos, in its peaceful wisdom, has begun to peel away the illusions that no longer serve your evolution. What feels like ambiguity is, in fact, clarity in its earliest form. It is the invitation to awaken from the dream of who you believed you were. And definitely, this unraveling may seem like death, the death of the familiar, the death of identities formed by pleasing other people, of values inherited but never chosen, and of ambitions that were never truly yours. But this death is enigmatic. It is not destruction, it is clarity. You are not being tormented, you are being purified. Your spirit is no longer willing to live in confinement. It is reaching for something real. You may discover that people, habits, or areas that once felt like home suddenly feel strange. The mask begins to slip, and with it, the roles you performed for love, for protection, and for belonging. There is sorrow in it but also freedom. You are not broken, you are breaking free. Now, the second sign is subtle yet clear: you start to feel a silent, growing disconnection from someone who you once were. In the Jungian concept, this is the shedding of the old persona, a symbolic death of outdated identity. And even though it might not come with drama or chaos, it is among the most obvious signs that you are about to begin a new and more real chapter of life. This detachment hardly happens completely at once. It starts as a whisper in the background, an enigmatic feeling that what once felt exciting, rewarding, or worthwhile now rings hollow. Pastimes that once brought you happiness, conversations that once felt intimate, and habits that once sustained you, now leave you empty and neglected. You look around and see that the landscape of your inner world no longer matches what surrounds you. It is as if the eyes you used to see the world around you with are changing lenses. What once glowed with purpose seems like echoes from another time. People, locations, and habits that once shaped your emotional reality start to disappear, not with bitterness, but with calm inevitability. You feel it in your body, in your breath, in your calmness. The past is loosening its grip. And this detachment is not cold or sarcastic. It is precious. It is your soul's way of saying you are ready to grow. Carl Jung spoke usually of the time when the soul starts to reject the collective script, when the self starts to whisper through the cracks in the persona. That whisper is not loud, yet it is evident. You start to see life from a different vantage point, not higher, but deeper. It is as if a curtain has lifted, and now you are seeing with your inner eye. Material desires may still exist, but they no longer control your value. The admiration from other people may still come, but it no longer determines your identity. You start to ask yourself, what truly nourishes my spirit? What gives me a sense of being alive? These are not minor questions. They are holy inquiries. And they usually arise not from contentment, but from discontent. Something within you understands that fulfillment can no longer be defined by what you acquire or how well you do, but by how profoundly you live and how sincerely you connect. This re-evaluation of meaning might be unsettling at first. You may feel like you are floating in mysterious waters, no longer supported by the shore of familiar beliefs. But this drifting is purposeful. It is the soul's method of pulling you toward deeper realities. You are not losing track. You are discarding a compass that no longer points toward your inner north. You may rediscover old passions, forgotten dreams, and neglected aspects of yourself that are suddenly awakening again. Or you may be drawn to new pathways you had never thought of before. This is the soul's call to return to sincerity. The fourth sign emerges like whispers from the soul. You start to experience an intimate, unmistakable connection with your gut instinct. It is not loud nor forced. Instead, it comes like a gentle flow beneath the surface of your ideas, leading you toward a reality that words cannot fully describe. In situations when logic seems not enough, this inner compass speaks. You start to feel that something within you has awakened, not in the mind, but in the deepest part of your being. Carl Jung once talked about the self as the entirety of the mind. And when you grow closer to it, the voice of instinct becomes more prominent. It is not a guess. It is knowledge that surpasses reason. You might notice that decisions no longer feel like challenges. Rather, they feel like alignment. You step into a room and immediately feel the vibe without having a conversation. You stand at a crossroads, and something in your body leans toward one direction. This is not imagination. It is the subconscious communicating in its old language. Your gut feeling is the voice of your spiritual guide, the one who has been with you since the beginning, patiently watching, waiting for you to calm down enough to hear. Initially, it might occur in flashes, a quiet nudge, a sudden clarity, or a feeling in your chest. But when you start to trust it, you will realize that it has always been speaking. You were just too distracted to listen. This realization usually comes during moments of inner upheaval. When the structures of your past identity begin to fall, your mind struggles for control. But in the silence beneath the noise, your gut feeling begins to rise. It guides you not by force, but by resonance. You become drawn to specific individuals, locations, and decisions for reasons you do not understand. It feels like returning home without knowing why, and that is because your deepest compass, long buried beneath your obligation and fear, has started to realign with the direction of your soul. The fifth sign, a quiet fire starts to burn inside you, one that is contented with just survival, with repetition, with remaining who you have always been. Rather, it stirs a profound and spiritual desire for transformation. You feel more pulled than ever before to personal improvement, not as a pastime or trend, but as an essential requirement of the soul. What once satisfied now feels empty. The old responses no longer reach the questions emerging from within. And so your consciousness starts to extend, seeking something greater, something genuine. This longing is not superficial. It does not pursue fleeting advancement, instead, it calls you into the depths of your existence. You no longer want to be entertained. You want to be expanded. Books, lessons, and discussions that once felt abstract or distant now speak directly to the heart. Your need for understanding intensifies, not to gain information for the sake of knowing, but to understand who you are beneath the layers of conditioning. This is the moment when the soul awakens and says, I can't stay asleep any longer. In this holy space, you start to uncover hidden passions, buried potentials, and the secret regions of your inner existence. You feel the urge toward healing, toward understanding your scars not as faults, but as initiations. Carl Jung called this process individuation, an awakening to the self, a unified force that holds both darkness and light. And so the road of personal development becomes more than a decision, it becomes your passion. You begin to ask different questions. Not those that originate from self-worth, such as, how do I achieve success, or how do I come to be? But instead, what am I destined to become? What part of me is still waiting to be lived? What stories am I still repeating out of fear? These questions do not come to disgrace you. They come to awaken you. They are the signals that you are ready to transcend beyond your past, beyond acquired ideas, beyond the barriers you once regarded as protection but now see as limitations. At this point, growth no longer means accumulation. It signifies shedding. You are not building layers to become greater. You are eliminating what no longer belongs, uncovering the spirit that has always waited under the noise. And definitely, it may be uncomfortable. At certain points, it may feel like everything is falling away. But this falling is holy. It is not destruction, it is preparation. Sign number 6. You begin to experience an intense urge to break free from toxic relationships and confining routines that once seemed reasonable, even normal. This is neither a transitory irritation nor a short-term dispute. It is a profound and holy signal that your soul is waking up to what no longer supports its progress. The connections that once seemed like comfort now feel like chains. You aren't getting more distant, you are becoming genuine. And in the light of this new perception of oneself, anything false starts slipping away. At this threshold, you understand that certain individuals were not companions of your becoming. They were reflections of your stagnation. You begin to realize how you had once endured disrespect wrapped up as love, perplexity disguised as loyalty, and emotional instability regarded as normal. And suddenly those routines feel unfamiliar to you, not because they have changed, but because you have. You are no longer a fit for them since you have switched your frequency. You are starting to resonate with something more pure, something more peaceful, something far more associated with who you are becoming. This transformation does not come from bitterness but from revelation. It is not fueled by rage but by insight. It is the holy knowledge that your energy is precious, that your calm is non-negotiable, and that your soul was never meant to be a dumping ground for projections, condemnation, or negligence. You start to feel a peaceful certainty develop within you. You no longer need to justify yourself, to overextend, or to shrink in order to preserve fake harmony. Rather, you begin choosing yourself, not out of self-interest, but out of reverence for the reality you are uncovering within.